Welcome to Backstage with Kennedy. This little show will be your remedy. From Toronto, spanning across the sea. Cool people, lots of laughs. This is your favorite podcast.
Welcome. My name's Kennedy from the Backstage with Kennedy podcast. I got a super cool guest today. Personally, I grew up listening to his music, and a lot of my friends growing up did as well. I got Scott from Cancer Bats. Scott's really involved in the local scene through managing, through engineering, and I mean, he's still playing, still rocking and rolling. So yeah, I'm super amped to have Scott on the podcast today. How you doing today, brother? What's new?
Really good. Thanks for having me, Kennedy. Yeah. It's another nice day. I'm out in sunny Belleville, Ontario at the moment.
Oh wow, is that where you live? Like out there?
I just moved here actually. Yeah.
Oh, solid.
Yeah. No. I'm from like the GTA, like Mississauga originally, and I've lived in Hamilton the last couple of years, and then just made the move out here. I'm gonna be building a new studio this year of my own, and really excited to move forward with that. I can't wait. It's just in the beginning stages right now, but it's just trying to fulfill a lifelong dream of have my own studio and building that from the ground up.
Beautiful. And it's a little more like quiet out there in Belleville, isn't it? Like it's
it's beautiful. It's really beautiful because it's like right on like the Belleville's on the Bay of Quinte. So for those who don't know, it's kind of like halfway between like Toronto and Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, sort of near Kingston. But it's really only like an hour and a bit from downtown Toronto. If you get some good traffic, it's all right actually. I've been going back and forth because I still work out of Schoolhouse Studios in Dundas, and lockdown permitting and everything, of course. But when I'm able to commute. I go back home, and it's a nice, peaceful time with me and my family. And just moving to a different stage in life. I grew up around the city my entire life, and being in a really busy atmosphere. I love it, but it's also time for a change and just to see, what this new adventure brings. And just really, it's pretty unaffordable to like buy most, property, especially if I plan on building a studio too and having the space. It's just makes so much more sense to be able to do it out here. And, like my dream with that is like, I'm building a studio, not just one entirely for me, but one that can host bands and, have bands come from other countries. I work with a lot of other bands producing, and a lot of them are international acts and stuff like that. So a lot of them want to come to Canada and record, and I want to be able to host them and make sure that they don't have to spend a ton of money on expensive hotels to be able to do it, because they're already putting in an investment to be able to come here. And then also the goal is to have a studio that other people would want to rent out, that isn't necessarily just the music I'm working on.
wicked.
So if another producer or another band just wanted a nice, cool location, a little bit more secluded in nature, where they're not in the hustle and bustle of the city, it's just kind of more of a destination spot that way.
I think a lot of musicians are kind of drive towards that too when it comes to like the creative process. Like I know Chalet Studios. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. They're the same kind of thing. People like to go out there, be away from the city, and just, feel a little tranquil and be able to actually like focus on the music,
Well, no, for sure. I mean, there's something great about, obviously there's so many great studios in Toronto, and, I was looking for a spot in Ontario that had less of that, really. I'm trying to fill the gap, in a place like Belleville, Trenton area, Quinte West, or whatever they call it, the Prince Edward County. It's like there's a lot going on. There's a lot of like really cool new developments happening in this area and stuff. And so a place for the local people to go, but also again, like, from my experience in my band, we always talked about how sometimes it was really cool when we would go to studios that weren't accessible to everyone else. So we could focus a little bit more rather than just have people be distracted by like, okay, I'm not doing anything, I'm going to take off and go here. And same thing, like, the last record we made was in like in Winnipeg, and we could focus a bit more there. Or we've gone to other places like Vespa, like up in like Rexdale area, you know, not exactly where all our friends are hanging out like it would be if we were recording downtown or something, or
Yeah.
you know, somewhere a lot more accessible. And we always like that, where we could just go in and, you know, lock the studio out and just focus on what we had to do every day. You know, and just keep the creative vibes flowing in that sort of intense way. I've always liked that. And so yeah, just kind of trying to recreate something like that out here.
I feel that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Scott, I've heard a lot of your mixes and masters and stuff, and I am very
Thanks.
impressed. What in your eyes makes like a great engineer? What kind of things do you think, like tangible, intangible kind of things, need to go into something like that?
Well, I mean, you know, I've been on my own journey for that for years. Like, you know, like I've wanted to learn all this stuff since high school. And, you know, I bounced back and forth through different things in university that had nothing to do with music. You know, and then that sort of led me to eventually going to school for audio engineering and stuff like that. And that was really only just the beginning to just get my like brain around the technology and like what it, you know, kind of meant. But now that I've really come to understand a lot about engineering, on both sides of the fence, you know, in terms of being the guy who works with the engineer as an artist, and then, you know, being the engineer, being the producer now, um, you know, I really think it's a lot about patience, and it's a lot about understanding the needs of the bands you're working with,
Mm-hmm.
or the artists you're working with, and really trying to, it's all about accenting what's best about what they do. You know, because there's so many musicians that might not be technically gifted or technically perfect,
Mm-hmm.
but they've got this style and this charisma and this energy that you can't duplicate by playing something like note perfect or pitch perfect or whatever.
Yeah.
And I really think the good engineers are the ones who like aren't scared of being able to keep some of those takes and go into that a little bit more and look for special moments and encourage them. You know, obviously that sort of blurs the line into like what a producer does, which is kind of primarily what I do. But you know, as things have gone on, you know, of course, an engineer, it's really important to know the gear you're working with. There's this really like sort of like laissez-faire attitude in terms of digital recording, because there's a lot of people's perception is that, okay, I'll record everything as clean and as unaffected as possible, you know, into the computer, in the hopes of, okay, I'll be able to turn this into whatever I want to in mixing, because, you know, we're in the digital era, and, you know, the mixing stage, you can essentially morph anything into almost anything to a point.
Mm-hmm.
But really, like I really believe there's a lot lost in some of those translations. And so more and more, as I've gotten more confident in engineering myself, you know, throughout the years, I started taking more risks about, okay, I'm going to commit to this sound now. I'm going to like put it through as much gear as it needs to get the sound that it's in my head. Because I want to capture character. I don't necessarily want all the plugins and post effects that we can use in any DAW. Pro Tools is what I use. Like, I don't want that to be the only thing giving it its character and you know, tonal signature, because that's easily duplicated by anybody. And all my favorite records are from bands that sounded strange, that didn't sound perfect. They just had something unique where you could hear it and you go, oh, it's that band. Oh,
Yeah.
no matter what, like, oh, I hear that guy's guitar sound.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool. Whereas there's so much like there's this massive like homogenization of all things music, especially to my belief, like within, you know, punk and metal and rock in general. Like, you know, all the music I grew up on, a lot of it is sounding very samey, very produced in the same way. Everyone's using the same drum samples, everyone's using the same amp simulators, and it's not all that different, and everything just kind of like fits within a certain style because everybody's learning to mix the exact same way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just I miss the artistry in engineering. You know, like I absolutely admire the people that get stuff technically perfect. I love that. You know, there's some brilliant engineers out there, you know, that, you know, I envy the stuff that they're able to do and capture, and it's pristine. I love stuff like that too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
However, when everything starts sounding like that, that's when I'm just bored. You
Yeah.
know, I think of so many weird, like, even, okay, like I'll think about this, like in the early stages of you know, the 2000s, when Napster like came out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And people were like, you know, illegally downloading whatever. There was this beauty in that time to a point that I almost like admire, because the MP3 quality at that time was so bad, so bad.
Yeah.
And I had so many terrible sounding MP3s from bands that also had terrible sounding recordings,
Mm.
but it didn't matter if the song was good.
Okay.
And that's the like, and that was the like the key. It's just like I didn't care how it sounded. I was just like, oh, I love this song. And that was always what it was about, what the song made me feel. And you know, and an engineer's job, or a producer's job more especially, is you know, to really capture what and bring out what's best about that song, and look for like appropriate performances to be the one take that you keep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or look for appropriate sounds that are going to really make you know, the listener feel something, or capture a specific moment in time. I love the idea of like guitar sounds that no one can recreate ever again. You know, it's just like, okay, that's what we did. Boom, boom, boom. You're not going to have that. It's not going to be the same on the next record, and that's okay. Like, it's totally fine. It doesn't have to be. And I miss that. Some of that. Yeah, I miss that little sort of living on the edge, dangerous thing about engineering in general. You know, and I wish some people would take more risks that way. Because I just miss that, the ultimate character that existed. I feel like so many people are too good at it that I miss some of the shittiness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. It's perfect in the imperfections, really. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah. I mean, again, there's stuff like, I'm not saying every record's got to be out of tune or you know, sloppy or whatever, but sometimes you can, it doesn't have to be all gridded and, you know, just inch perfect every time. You know, you don't want something sounding amateurish.
Absolutely.
You want to go away from that. But like, if, you know, someone's like voice cracks a little bit, or, you know, maybe they're like hitting that guitar so hard and you can feel something. Yeah. It's okay if it's like a little bit sloppy here or there. You know, and that's the thing. It's like, I love that energy.
Absolutely. So, Scott, one thing I wanted to bring up. So a lot of my friends, I mean, I'm born in 1994. Like when I was young, the Cancer Bats 06 album was like really, really popping, and all my friends had Cancer Bats t-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like a go-to t-shirt for a lot of my friends. What was your go-to band tee for yourself?
In 1994,
like what would yours have been, like when you were like in like high school? What would have been that band tee that you really wanted to wear?
Definitely. I'm trying to think of like what they were. I mean, there's definitely a Machine Head t-shirt that was like this green one with the Machine Head classic diamond logo on the front, that I probably like wore to death like every day. That and like a Sepultura t-shirt were the ones that I definitely wore big time. I'm trying to think of like, I mean, for sure there would have been like there was a White Zombie shirt that I wore all the time too. That was kind of one of my other like big bands. You know, of course I had like some like Metallica and Pantera and stuff. Like, I was really into metal.
Yeah.
But also like, you know, like weird alternative stuff and hardcore. And I remember the one shirt I was really bummed about is that I had bought probably right around like 96 or something like that. I bought an Entombed t-shirt, and it was like the Wolverine Blues record.
Okay.
And I remember like going downtown because I'd seen it once, and I saved up like $25, and then like, you know, got on the transit from Mississauga to go downtown to Toronto to this like specific shop on Yonge Street that carried it.
Yeah.
And I bought this Entomb shirt and I was so happy. I was like, oh man, this is like my favorite band right now. I'm so stoked. And then I brought it to school the next day, and I went to like a Catholic high school. And so we had to wear uniforms every day.
Yeah.
But as soon as the final bell rang, we'd all like rip off our like white dress shirt. And then there'd be like, we'd put a metal shirt on like right away or something, or it'd be underneath if we got away with it. Cause they'd always check if we could only wear white shirts underneath our white shirt.
Okay.
If we wore a black one, they'd like send you home. And so that happened a lot. But anyway, so I remember I was like, I got the shirt. I'm like, oh, I'm going to wear it. I'm going to look badass in front of all my friends. It's going to be so cool. And the shirt was made of such a piece of shit, terrible material. I don't know what it was. They're literally, the second I put it like over my head, the shirt like ripped in half. And I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, oh God. Like,
That's
how
rough.
does I was so pissed. And yeah, so I never got to own an Entomb shirt until much,
So
unfortunately. But yeah, but you know,
I feel you. If you,
good memories.
Scott, if you could give any advice to a young Scott Middleton, what would that be?
Oh, wow. I mean, there's a lot, but wow, any advice, any whatsoever. Yeah. I mean, I mean, the simple thing would be to just trust your instincts in regards to, you know, pursuing things that you love. You know, I kind of touched on it for a second, but you know, right out of high school, like, I went to university for film and photography, which was essentially a total waste of my time.
Yeah.
I was trying to, you know, please my parents and, you know, get a degree. And I, you know, for some reason I thought that I wasn't a good enough musician to try to get a music degree. And I also thought, oh, what can you even do with that? What's that going to do? I wish I had pursued music harder in a lot of ways. Because it's everything that I do. You know, every job I've had, you know, since the mid 2000s has been music related. And even when I had other jobs and was doing other things, I was in like 2 or 3 bands all at the same time and always busy, just working on music. It was all I cared about. Everything in my life told me I should be doing music, and I was doing it anyway, but I should have dropped, worrying about the wrong bits of my education, and focused on that. I mean, you know, along the way, like I got told by, I remember like my guidance counselor at high school, I was like, yeah, I want to be a producer, be an audio engineer. And I heard there's schools that, you know, teach you those things. And then they just looked and they go, oh, but it's not an accredited university. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I mean, they teach the thing I want to learn here. And they were like, well, it's only a year long. You're not going to get a degree. And I'm like, well, I don't need a degree to do this. This is what I want to do. And they're like, oh, I'm going to have to look into it more. And then I remember they called my parents and were like, yeah, Scott shouldn't do this. This is terrible.
That's right.
This is absolutely terrible. No, he's really, all he's going to do is make coffee for people and be sweeping floors. And yeah, it's a dead end career. You shouldn't do it. I'm like, okay. And like, you know, I believed that for like a few minutes, you know, like I was like, oh, I guess I'd be really messing up. And yeah, I mean, you know, I had no concept. I didn't even know what a recording studio was all about. I just liked music and wanted to do something cool in music. And I ignored that for a long time, wasted, you know, years of my life and loads of money to corporate university institutions that taught me nothing and cared zero about me whatsoever. And then I found a small music school that taught this stuff, and I had a great time. It was like it opened up my eyes that I was like, I can actually enjoy learning. Yeah. Like, and I hadn't felt that way since I was like 8 years old, when I like, you know, had a really good teacher that I still remember, you know, and he made me excited to come to class every day. Well, it was the same thing about, you know, the producer, Daryl Newdorf, who was teaching our engineering class. I learned so much, and I had fun, and it was cool because I would just sit in a class with a few other people and talk about music all day and just make music and work on music. And it was like the greatest thing. And, I don't think everybody has that same experience, because a lot of the music schools themselves now have been so streamlined and are just like factories to just turn out people and just make money, just like, pay your 10-20 grand or whatever it costs now,
They're starting to go that
and
route.
yeah, just go in and out. And I mean, the beauty is that the internet gave us access to any education we want for way cheaper than that.
Yep.
And you can learn better and more valuable stuff. Honestly, like, the only other thing is that I really wish I could have studied business and finance a lot more, and that I had ever. So, I mean, yes and no. I mean, it's just, I can say that just as an extra hindsight, only because, like, the reality is if you're going to take any band you do seriously, it is starting a business. It involves, it involves accounting, it involves marketing, whether you like it or not.
You should know
I mean, because it's either you're doing it, or it's either you're paying someone else to do those things for you, or a record label is, and they're taking a lot of money to do it, and you have to deal with contracts, so you have to be able to read them, and these kinds of things. And there's a lot of stuff that I regrettably was ignorant about for many years, and I just think that I mean, I think those are necessary skills for anyone in general, because it's really only going to benefit you in the system that we exist in. I know it's not cool and that it's boring and whatever, but like, at the end of the day, like, we all have to make money to exist and feed ourselves and take care of our family. And those are the things that, like, you really, really recognize when you get married, when you have children. You start to just really think about that, because it matters. It fucking matters. And it's important to be responsible. And there's a lot of, like, rearranging, someone who's lived in a van for the last 15 years has to do, to be able to, like, do that properly and respectably and stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, there's so many things, but, obviously the thing is also, like, and more than ever, I think the one other thing is, don't be scared to fail, or don't be scared to, like, have about someone saying no to you. Like, that's totally fine. Like, just learn from every situation you can, and just generally be a good person where possible. That's the other thing. I mean, it's all basic stuff, I mean, but I think messing up and doing stupid shit is, like, part of being young, and you grow. Yeah. And you can see how far you've come, and we're always on a journey. I think that's the other side to it. Yeah,
absolutely. So one thing I like to talk about, especially with bands that have been around for quite a while, is I like to bring up, what is your favorite show you've done? Obviously you've had so many memorable shows, but can you even, like, think of, like, one memorable show that really just you hold dear to you, whether it's playing with a certain person you looked up to, something hilarious that happened, just anything really.
I mean, honestly, like, I've been, I don't use this word much, but I feel in some ways like I've been blessed with many of those. I have a hard time picking one, but I mean, one that comes to my mind is we, and it's kind of simple, but we got the chance to tour with the band Guar.
Oh yeah.
And Guar is a band I've loved since I was a little kid. They're always just so much fun, and especially when you're, like, a kid in, like, the 90s and stuff, like, they were really dangerous and offensive, and you had to, like, hide the records from your parents and stuff like that, because they were so vulgar and and violent. And yeah, and anyways, that they took us on tour, and it was the coolest thing ever. Just watching incredible musicians and showmen, like, every night put on the best show you've ever seen, just ultimate entertainment and great music. You know, just really such an inspiration. But in Toronto, it was really cool because we had like Dave Brockie, like Odorous Arungus, the singer of Guar.
Mm-hmm.
He asked if he could come out and sing our cover of Sabotage, the Beastie Boys song,
Oh, hell yeah.
with us in Toronto, like our hometown. And it like was really cool. It was like, I think it might've been one of our first times actually playing like Sound Academy, or I don't know if it's called Rebel now or whatever the heck. But anyways, like at the time it was Sound Academy, and it was just, it felt really cool to be on stage and like be validated by, you know, one of your sort of musical heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, it was cool too, because a few days before, we were in the States and it was Thanksgiving weekend, which is, you know, quite a big deal in the States.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he and the guys had like invited us to go and have Thanksgiving dinner with them at like a Chili's or like an Applebee's, or it was something like, we were stuck in like Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, or no, it was Ann Arbor. Sorry, I said that wrong. Ann Arbor, Michigan. And yeah, it was just a day off, and like, and you know, like they like really brought us in, like we were family, and it was really cool. And I mean, the sad thing is that like about a year later, Dave Brockie died, and you know, and it's just one of those things where you feel really lucky that we could share that kind of moment. And you know, there's one of the many examples, you know, that go against the thing of like never meet your heroes kind of thing. Whereas like those people were
incredible.
Yeah, like I mean, the second we met them, that like gap between like a band who's massively famous and it's, you know, done it all and more, like they're just like, the second we met them, it was just like anybody we're hang out with, great people, hilarious, fun, you know, and it was just like, oh man, like this is the ultimate, you know, in a lot of ways. And you know, of course we've played some pretty incredible festivals and you know, headlined some like huge shows in our own right. You know, one that comes to mind is like 2.5 years ago now, I guess, we headlined a festival in Nepal, in Kathmandu. You know, and that was a place I never thought I would get to go to.
Yeah.
And the show was amazing. The people were there were incredible to us. Or, you know, we headlined a really big venue in London, England called Coco, that was a beautiful theater. You know, around the time we did Dead Set on Living. And it was just like, it just felt, there was like a magic in the air, you know, just like, wow, like, this is like way bigger than I ever imagined, you know, Cancer Bats ever going. Like when I started the band with Liam, it was kind of like a side project just for fun from you know, on the side from another band I was doing. And it's kind of incredible, you know, looking back at all the things that we've accomplished on the basis of just making music that was honest and fun for us to play. And you know, and really being able to realize a lot of the goals and dreams we always had. It puts a smile on my face thinking about it.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that, man. It's nice to hear that, especially like the fact that it started as a side project. You see so many bands that do start as side projects that end up, that's what makes it, because it's not done with the intention of this, we're gonna be famous off this. It's done with the intention of, let's just jam and have fun. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, I've seen so many bands. Like I remember, like we'd have friends who'd be like in metal bands. We're like, we're not getting big doing metal. Let's start a pop punk band, and that'll get us signed, and that'll be the thing. And didn't happen. And you know, I mean, again, who knows why? It's just when we started the band, people got it right away, and it kind of just kept going. And and it's just always been fun, you know. I can't believe it's, you know, getting closer to 20 years. You know, like we're really only a few years away from that, and that's the crazy thing. It's flown by. It's absolutely flown by. Yeah, like going from being like a kid to, you know, like a full-on adult. You know, I'm turning 40 this year. It's crazy to, you know, see how far that's come.
It's wicked to see that you guys are still like jamming throughout this whole time and still playing shows and still touring and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what? A lot of bands, like, you know, when they get to that like 30, 35 mark, they go, you know what, I want to try something else. I want to try something different.
Sure,
And they
sure.
end up doing a lot of solo stuff or, you know,
Yep.
stepping into something they didn't do before. But to see Cancer Bats still killing it is awesome to see, man. And I know Liam. I don't know him personally, but everybody I've ever spoken to who knows him speaks so highly of him. So
Yeah,
you know
of
the fact
course, of
that you
course.
and him are in the band together, I'm sure there's like a brotherhood there. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody's been through a lot, and that's the thing. How do I say this? Like, there's a lot of things I talk when when I'm working with like younger bands, and I'm always saying like, you know, you gotta be sure that you want to do the thing,
Mhm.
because it takes a lot. It takes a lot. It takes a certain kind of people, and it takes the right chemistry
Mhm.
amongst personalities, and it takes a certain amount of maturity to be able to handle it, because you're basically deciding, hey, these are going to be the few other people that I'm going to be living with every day and working with every day,
Yeah.
for the next few years of my life. And that's a serious commitment, right?
Mhm.
It's there's a lot to that. And so there's a lot of bands that don't um work in general because they uh don't have people who are all on the same page. And that was one of the things that really helped Cancer Bats, especially in the beginning, when things start taking off. um you know it, we had the right people, or we found the right people eventually, and it worked and was able to take off. And that's the thing, once we got Mikey and then Jay in the band, it made even more sense, because we had people we really liked who were also amazing musicians, and it just everything kind of clicked. And we were able to say, okay, well, screw it, we're all going to leave home for a bunch of years and go like play as many shows as we humanly can stand playing, and go all the places we've wanted to. Yeah, it's remarkable. But that's the common thing you see, though, is there's a lot of bands that get signed, or they release their first record and then they lose members right away,
Yeah.
because you have to have that commitment. And that's the thing. It's like, and that's again the thing that I'm trying to like um teach bands when I'm producing, or if I'm working with them in a different capacity. It's you've got to learn what it takes. You have to pay attention to the right things, and you've got to be smart and serious in regards to just the strategy of how you want to approach your band. You have to like recognize what it is your goals are,
Mhm.
because if you're just kind of just doing whatever, you're trusting that everything else is going to just happen for you. So you have to like really make a plan. And that was one of the cool things, and that's one of the things that Liam's really strong with was, he had a lot of great artistic direction, and a lot of just inherent business sense, and stuff he would learn from his family, um and and that like really helped us, aside, and that's aside from being like a great singer and a great frontman. But it's like each person in the band like fills a role, and they contribute in their way, and they um and they have to bring something. And if it all makes sense, and you also happen to write good songs, then you probably have a good combination, and
Absolutely.
and that's the thing. You tend to see the bands that like really they'll have the longevity, or they'll have the trajectory, when it's that perfect storm of a great band with great songs, with people in the right headspace, or they've got the right team holding it all together just barely.
Mhm.
That's obviously there's like loads of famous bands that just like I don't know, if you look at Guns N' Roses or whatever, like people who've like fought forever, and now they're back together again.
They're just holding on still.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
just
yeah.
holding
Well,
on.
yeah, and they're filling stadiums, so I mean, it's worked, because their music's classic. But it's just, I really think like there's there's something that like bands, when they're starting out, if they really take the time to find the right people to do the right things, they'll go a little bit further on that basis alone, because you can coast on, having 3 or 4 people who are willing to get in a van and not make any money. And just because they love playing music, and that's like, and that's that momentum and that focus is really going to carry you somewhere. And the something that needs to like then propel it further is a great record.
Yeah, for sure. So I know we've spoken a little bit about you moving to Belleville so that you can start up your own studio space. And I know that you are working with Napoleon. Former they are Backstage with Kennedy alumni. Good dudes.
Oh, cool.
Good dudes.
Nice.
And yeah, I know you're keeping very busy. What does the future hold for you there, Scott? What's in the cards these days?
Oh, well, I mean, like I've been, producing almost the last 10 years now, pretty seriously and definitely, over the last 5 very intensely, because it's just something I've always loved doing. And as things with Cancer Bats kind of evolved, and as members started having families and stuff like that, like our drummer started having kids, so maybe we didn't tour quite in the same way. It was a little bit more spread out, and and as our career developed, we were able to play less shows to bigger people, where we didn't have to play 300 shows a year or something like that, and we could enjoy our time off. It's like I had some more time, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna move into the studio, I'm gonna accumulate gear, I'm gonna like really focus on giving back to the music scene, all the stuff I've learned along the way from all the great people that helped me get to where I am. And yeah, I mean, Napoleon's one of those awesome bands that I was lucky enough to meet. They hit me up about, working with them on a couple songs, and yeah, I got on the phone with Jonathan, the singer, and him and I just had a connection right away. I saw a lot of myself in him, and it's not even like musically we're quite different from each other, and Napoleon are maybe a little bit more melodic, or even you could argue poppy, versus something that I would like typically be associated with or whatever. But for me, it's just, I love the passion for music that those guys have. And the connection with them, we had a great time in the studio. We worked on a couple songs, and we hit it off right away. I had a blast. I really love helping people. And when I can really see that I can offer that kind of value to the people that need it, it just feels good, and it's fun, and it's exciting. And so, there's some bands like that I'll work with in, a more managerial capacity, in the way, just like, well, it goes beyond that, because the friendship bonds and the like the working relationship, goes a little bit further, because I want to see everyone I work with do well.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? It's only in my best interest as well that I try and help bands that I work with succeed. Right. Of course. So, with them, it's just, they were really young guys, and I was like, okay, don't make these mistakes. Don't, like, here's how we should start planning shows, or this tour, or this, obviously all pre-pandemic and everything. But, there's a lot of growth that's come from them, and that's because of the commitment that they're willing to put forward. And that's the thing that I love, is that if they're willing to do it, because it's not about me steering the ship for them.
Yeah.
It's about giving them the freedom to express themselves in their music in the right way, and make sure that it's as good as it can be, and that they're making smart career moves, and doing things right, as best they can from the get-go, so that that they can keep doing this another 10, 15 years, hopefully.
Exactly.
And it's really cool. Like, I really think if you go back, if you ever listen to some like really early Napoleon demos, or their first like EP or whatever, you can see how far along they've progressed, since we've been working together. And the cool thing is, for me, I can see that even further in the new record they're just about to release. We finished up a record a couple months ago, and now it's, the first single is going to come out on Friday, and I'm really stoked. Like the first single has Shane from Silverstein doing vocals on it with them.
Saw that. That's sick.
Yeah,
That is
it's
sick.
it's really cool. It's really cool. Shane did an amazing job, and he's a really great guy who's been um like wonderfully cool to work with. And Shane and I come from the same place, and we've known each other for years and been playing shows throughout all our different bands together and stuff. And so he's the guy that knows what it's like to be in a young band trying to do something. And those guys really looked up to him, and it was really exciting to have that kind of moment, to be working with one of their musical heroes in a lot of ways, right? And so like being able to help facilitate that was cool. And have my friends help out people I'm working with. And again, like I think they're a band that has so much potential based on the fact that they have a great energy that I like, and this love of music and this natural talent for playing it. And I think like the new record's hopefully going to turn some heads. And and in an ideal world, they'd be setting out on tour this week, right? Unfortunately, we are where we are, and things are in a lockdown at the moment, so that's not going to happen. But they're not going to stop doing the release. There's another band I'm working with in Toronto called Champion Lover, who's a bit more of like alternative grunge punk, heavy, noisy, fuzzy that I love. We did an amazing record too. We just started releasing a couple singles there. It's getting really exciting with them. But again, I feel bad for these bands because they want to do the big push. They want to get in the van and go tour around like I always tell them stories about,
Mm-hmm.
and it's, I feel bad, that it's all they can do is like release and push singles through their social media and, send it to their friends and get things going. And hopefully people like it and, will stick around long enough, for when shows open up and then they'll all come out and like have a great time and have proper release shows. But yeah, I mean, the cool thing about producing is I get to meet so many, inspiring people, so many talented people with great songs, or a great sort of just passion for music. And the nice thing is that like after me doing this professionally almost 20 years is that like working with people like this, it invigorates me and keeps me excited and hungry to keep working in the music industry. And obviously that's like I'm still doing cool stuff with Cancer Bats, but this like does this side of my career, like it just feels so awesome to just see people grow, and again just passing on that knowledge that I've been given through like so many generous other talented engineers and producers throughout the years, the people that taught me to write songs properly. It's like because of them, it's like I'm able to keep doing this, and I'm gonna hopefully foster that next generation through. And and even that, like, I mean, it's not all just about young bands. There's loads of like older ones that I love working with too. But again, it's just that collaborative process is really what's always excited me about music, rather than just that's why I'd almost probably never release a solo record in my life.
Yeah.
Because I don't love just sitting and playing guitar by myself. The most fun thing I can think of is like getting in the studio and making music, or getting on stage with my friends and playing a show. Like I love that. Like that is the exciting thing for me, even just getting in a jam space and hashing out ideas. Like that's my favorite. I'm not, it was one of those things, like music helped me like break down any like, social inhibitions I had when I was young. It pushed me to like meet new people and explore, different kinds of points of view and culture. And it really shaped who I am. So it's just, yeah, I just love getting, involved in as many ways as possible. And these are all things that I didn't even plan on doing, I mean, maybe when I was so young and like, I was like, oh yeah, I'll be a music producer one day. I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm going to do that because I didn't think I could be a professional musician. And then I became a professional musician.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, I had friends being like, "Hey, can you produce a record for us? Can you record a record for us? We need someone. I need, And it's like, okay, all of a sudden I'm an engineer. Now I'm a producer. Now I'm writing songs with other bands. Cool. Now, oh, hey, we need someone to master your record. Do you do that? Yeah, well, yeah, of course I can. Okay, well, now like one of the main things I'm doing like during the pandemic is mastering records for bands all the time, mixing records and but especially mastering and that's like a career path I never thought I'd go down. And now I love it. And I'm like, I'm getting more mastering gear because it's exciting. I never thought I'd be managing a band because like, well, that's a bit more businessy. And it's like, well, no, I can actually help somebody in that capacity. And it's people I like working with. So why wouldn't I, and we have a good relationship. So like, yeah, I'm just kind of going where life takes me. And as long as I feel good about it, it feels right. And it's exciting. And that's the great thing. It's like, none of it feels like the grind.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like, oh, okay. Yes, boss. That's the thing. It's just, it works with, my own talents, my own, passions about music. It's just all these things like are fun. And, the more I get involved, it's just like, it's nice to be part of that community.
I feel that. The one thing you mentioned to me there that really caught my eye, well, caught my ear, I guess, was giving back to the community. That's one thing I found about you, Scott. Just from like whether I came up to you and said, hey, I don't often do that. I kind of just end up hanging out in the sides of bars and stuff like that. That's kind of the way I am when I go into those places. But when it comes to like seeing you at venues, I do see you at venues. I do see you supporting bands. You are giving back to the community. And I got to thank you for that, because that's the kind of stuff that the Canadian music scene, the Toronto music scene really needs, because it inspires people. It creates that community feel, which I think that it's what we need, man.
I mean, honestly, that's what it gave me when I was a kid. Like honestly, like being in high school, it wasn't cool to like the music that I liked. It wasn't cool to be into like metal and hardcore and punk. Like it was very niche. I got made fun of and picked on for that stuff. And or I couldn't relate to the people. How do I say this? Like the only people I could relate to were musicians or diehard music fans. And, and I was drawn toward, the DIY community, in the GTA. And that was exciting for me. Just once I found out about the underground network of shows and, just being put on at community centers, or maybe there's a legit one in Toronto, or, oh my God, there's this festival in Syracuse, New York called Hellfest. Let's drive down there. Oh, there's another one in Buffalo. Okay. Yeah. Tuffalo Fest. Let's go to that. Oh, cool. There's, the guys from Every Time I Die are putting that on. Oh, sick. We love that band. Yeah, let's go. It was all just about just connecting with all these different people. And before I knew it, I was like friends with people who were in bands in Montreal and Ottawa, and become friends with those promoters. And I'm still friends with those people. And we see how all this stuff has like grown and changed. It's changed a lot, of course, but I mean, the essence is there. It's still, there's that excitement. I remember like, I would try to get friends of mine from my high school to come to these shows with me, but half of them wouldn't. So I'd just say like, all right, well, screw it. I'm just going to go by myself. And then I would literally I'd hop on a train or, like do whatever I could to get to the next show. I would sometimes go to shows and not have any plan for how I was going to get home in time because there would be like, could miss the last train back out to like Mississauga or something.
Yeah.
And, I would meet people at the show, and just eventually I would meet someone who was kind of from that, side of town. And I'd be like, hey, do you mind if I could, grab a ride with you? I could give you some gas money. And most of the time they'd be like, yeah, don't even worry about the money. Yeah, just come. Like, yeah. Oh, nice to meet you. Who are you? And like, I'm literally still friends with some of those people, and then later on it would be like, oh yeah, we're driving to Montreal for this show. You can hop in my car, or we're going to Hellfest again this year. Like, hop in my car again. Yeah, cool.
It's
And you just like you share these like bonding moments and memories. I mean, that's how I met Liam at a show. Like he just came up to me and was just like, oh, hey man, you play in that band, you guys are sick, want to check out my demo for this band? And you know, it just, you know, you just have this like, I don't know, again, it's this random community that I don't know. I hope that those moments still exist for so many people today. Like I want more of that. I want more of that for the young generation, because like that was what was extra cool, is just going to these shows and going, oh man, yeah, I know that. Wait, oh, there's this new band, Alexis on Fire. Oh, I already know all those guys. Yeah, I've been playing shows with them and all their different bands for years. Like, oh, those guys are super cool. Oh, this is fun. Like, you know, and then those guys are excited because I started a new band with my buddy Liam that they knew from somewhere else. And they're like, oh, hey, come play a show with us. Cool. All right. You know, and it's like, it continues on. And it's just like, we have these lifelong friendships that, I mean, I you know, they're irreplaceable. And if it wasn't for music, it probably wouldn't happen, because why else would I be going, you know, like I would just go wherever I thought good shows were happening. And like, it would be like, okay, at 1 year, that's like in one part of my city. Okay. The next one, oh, it's like, okay, everything next year is at the Oakville YMCA. Okay. No, it's at the Streetsville Masonic Lodge. Now everything's at the El Macombo or Who's Emma in Kensington Market. And oh, okay, nope. Now everything's moved to St. Catharines. Scene Fest is happening every year. We got to go to that. We got to try to play that. We got to like, we're going to catch all our friends' bands. And like, before you know it, it's like, I know people in every city, every part of the province. And then that was, you know, one of the things that really helped Cancer Bats along the way is by the time I started a different band that I also wanted to take seriously, I just had to call up my friends and be like, hey, are you putting on a show, or would you want to do a show for my band? Oh yeah. Okay. For sure. Yeah. You guys are really, you know, like, even if it was like someone I wasn't super close with, they just go, oh yeah, we had so much fun the last time you came to town. Yeah. I'll do a show for your new band. And like, that was our first tour. Like we like literally booked our first tour, like from Toronto to Halifax, you know, within like a month of being in the band. It was just like, yeah, let's just do this.
That's great.
You know, because I'd already done and established those friendships with my previous band. You know, and that was how strong the bonds of like the Canadian music scene were. It was easy in some ways. Unfortunately, I find there's a little less of that. You know, it's always kind of existed a little bit more in the hardcore punk scene. Again, because it's just so much more niche. But you know, again, that's like you know, something I just hope that never goes away. I love that network that, you know, of people just like don't give a shit because they just want shows to happen. And that's the really cool thing about when you leave you know, the GTA metropolis and you start going to small towns, and you start going to, and never even mind small towns. You just go to a place like Halifax. There's people that are like, more shows need to happen here. Like there's a lot of people here and there's not enough shows. I want more fun things to do. So I'm going to like try to get more bands to come. I don't care how good they are. They're nice people. It's going to be a good time, you know? And I love that. That's special.
This this podcast realistically started off of that sense of community. You know what I mean? Like I'm from Burlington originally, so
cool, great.
Used to come downtown just to go see, you know, go to the Bovine for open mic night. Go check a couple shows, and I started to create this little community, and then started to meet different people, and then I said, you know what? I love playing music, but I like the community aspect more, and I thought this was the best way I could do it. Was, hey, I can have conversations with musicians, people in the Canadian music scene, and hang out with them, build a bunch of different bridges, and you know what I mean, and help promote the scene. So 100%. It's all about that community, man. It's all
about and the awesome thing is that it's worldwide. You know, you like, I mean, you know, this is one of the cool like perks about, you know, being in a band that, you know, has had some success. And you know, like I'll go to weird places in the world and there'll be like people that recognize me that I wouldn't expect. Like I'm literally like hiking in the Slovakian mountains with my in-laws, and then a couple of guys from Italy are walking by and they're like, hey, Cancer Bats. And I'm like, oh, sick. You're wearing a This Is Hell t-shirt. Those guys are my best buddies. And then we're just like hanging out, talking about like hardcore punk, you know, in the middle of some nature just in, far away from civilization, and those weird things happen that, I don't know. It just, again, I love that. And I love meeting, people who, like you've said, that our bands inspired you. That's the ultimate. Cause I was that kid, I was the kid that was trying to, talk to bands, I admired, and whether they were local or not, that was all the same to me.
Yeah.
Cause if I saw a band that made me like, wanna dance or mosh or go off and headbang at a show, like that was the same as, thinking about, I don't know, Metallica or whatever that, made me want to play guitar. It gave me the same feeling. And I was just like, oh yeah. Like I was stoked to meet and like communicate with people like that, just in general. And so, for the most part, like I always like meeting people who just, want to talk about music and are like cool to hang out with, it's just, that was me. Like I was the kid, like hoping to get a guitar pick from, my favorite guitar players or something, or, I was trying to sneak into shows when I was underage. That was cool, and, like I was 16 and I was telling the story the other day to a friend. I won some tickets to go see Anthrax and Monster Voodoo Machine at the Phoenix in Toronto. And I won 4 tickets for me and my friends, and we were only 16. And of course, Phoenix is a 19 plus venue, but we didn't really kind of think about that until we got the tickets, and it was like, oh no, these say 19 plus. What are we gonna do? And we went to this like this sort of rock shop, head shop type thing that we knew made fake IDs. And so we had a bunch of like fake IDs made that all said we were from like
BC,
well, yeah, or like from Hawaii or somewhere. It was basically like the classic like McLovin type thing. And so anyway, so we all had these fake IDs made, and of course we were stupid enough to all go in a row with these fake IDs. And literally the guy looks at them, was like, nope, get the hell out of here, kids. And we're just like, so bummed, because we just wanted to go to the metal show, right?
Yep.
And then so we're sitting on the curb outside the Phoenix, and we didn't even realize it, but we were sitting right next to Anthrax's bus. And Charlie Benante, the drummer, came out and was like, oh, hey, what's up, guys? And we're just like, not much. We're bummed. We can't get into the show. And he's like, what? And we're like, yeah, we're not old enough. And he's like, that sucks. I thought the show was supposed to be all ages. It's really stupid. Hey, why don't you come with me? And he like snuck us in the back door, and then like invited us to hang out in his dressing room.
That is
and we were just like, whoa, this is the coolest. And literally we just sat with Charlie and talked about music, and we were like in awe, and we were just like, this is the coolest thing. And he was just really nice. And we were telling him about local bands, and he was asking me about Monster Voodoo Machine, who were opening, and I really liked them. So I was like, oh yeah, the band's cool because they sound like this. And then anyways, the bouncer that kicked us out walked by the dressing room, was like, hey, you guys aren't allowed in here. And he's like, I'm just showing them this thing. Don't worry about it. And then I guess anyways, he ran and got his boss, and anyways, someone came in and we're like, yo, you got to kick these kids out, or the show's going to get canceled. Like, you can't have underage people in the building. They'll get shut down. And just like, And he's like, I'm sorry, guys. And he like, we walked out with him back, and we were like, going to like start walking home. He's like, hey guys, don't leave. Just a second. He like went on the bus, and then he came out with all the dudes from Anthrax, and they all like came and like said hi to us. And they gave us like, kind of as was the style in the 90s, like bands would carry around like 8x10 black and white photographs that their record label would give to like for signings and stuff. And so anyways, they all signed these like photos for us. They didn't have to do that. Charlie didn't have to hang out with us. And, and like, that's like, and like a mind-blowing case of like being cool. And you don't even have to go that far. I think if even just saying hi to us was like the ultimate, the awesome, just acknowledging that we were there. But that was like, that's something now I'm never going to forget,
No, that's super wicked,
and it's just really cool when you're able to connect with somebody that way. And I didn't forget that. And so it's cool because there's been moments, where I've been able to, kind of do some similar stuff for fans of our band along the way. I mean, you can't always, but like it's one of those things where I don't know, music's special that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, I'm gonna wrap this up, brother.
Okay.
I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Thanks a ton, man.
Thank you for having me.
Out of your day and hanging out, and yeah, we'll be in touch when everything opens up again. I'll see you around.
Yeah.
I'm sure. And
Hopefully,
I'll come say hi, and we'll have a drink or something.
Yeah, we'll kick it at some shows for sure.
Sounds good, brother. You have a good one, all right, man?
Thanks, man. Take care.
Easy, dude.
Buns, check.
Hot dogs, mustard, check.
Ketchup.
Hot stuff. Nah.
Where's the hot stuff? I didn't bring it.
Yeah.
So good with the hot stuff? Very good with the hot stuff.